I know that human being and fish can coexist peacefully.
Hello and welcome to the Spoilt Milk Movie Podcast. Here at Spoilt Milk, we like to discuss, destroy and dissect guilty pleasure movies and decide whether they're truly spoilt milk or if they've ascended into a fine, luxurious cheese. So without further ado, here we go.
Warning, this podcast is full of spoilers for the title feature and there's bad language from the start. If you've never seen the film or you're offended by bad language, you have been warned.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spoilt Milk Movie Podcast, where today we're going to be talking about Robin Hood and the Prince of Thieves. There's no "the" in there, is there? Is there?
The Robin Hood?
No, it's
Is
Robin
it Robin
Hood,
Hood and
colon, Prince
of Thieves. There's no "and" there.
Oh, we were at the start. The Robin
The
Hood.
Robin, the Hood, the Prince, the
Thieves.
Thieves. You can't spell thieves without the, right? Oh, no, is it? Right, okay, so we don't really need to do introductions after that. You just heard the Hobo. Say hello, Hobo.
What?
And you heard Laura.
Hello.
How are you, Laura?
I'm good, thank you. How are
Long
you?
time no see.
It's been ages.
And yeah, it's me, Cham. I never know how to introduce myself.
Let me
me,
introduce
Cham.
you. Here we have me, Cham.
Hello. The Cham. So before we get on to the film, we have got a top three that's been sent in by Kieren Johnson. He sent in a question before, but you know, it was such a good question and it fit what we were talking about that we just had to cover it, didn't we?
Kieren Johnson.
Yes.
Big old Johnson.
We did this last time.
Oh. I don't know if I've got
Can we
anything
mock
new for
Kieren?
Johnson.
Get a new joke.
Alright. Son of John. Got him, right? That's like an Anglo-Saxon burn.
Moving on.
Tom
So,
Boyd.
what did Kieren want to know? Do you remember the specific question that he asked?
Top three
Franchises.
top
Top three
three.
franchises.
top three
Three.
franchises that should have been left the hell alone. And I imagine he did a sassy the hell alone.
A little click and a wiggle.
I couldn't click my fingers, so I'm glad you clicked for me, Laura.
Laura, do you want to go first on this one? Because you said you've got two.
I got 1.5.
1.5. Yeah, you should go first then. Half the film should stop. The other half, keep going. Let's have a spin-off.
It isn't just a specific film. They just need to leave the Disney films alone.
Oh, right,
Just
okay
please
then.
stop it. Like, I'm excited for them, but just stop it. And I just don't need them. I'll watch them. I'm excited. But just leave them. I don't care.
So what do you even call them? They're not live action, but almost live action.
There's the Jungle
remix.
Book, Beauty and the Beast,
Cinderella.
the Lion King.
air quotes live action.
Mm.
That's the full title of the universe.
Do you know what, though? I was reading an article the other day that was talking about what are the most profitable remakes of all time. And Beauty and the Beast and Jungle Book were the top two. And since the first time round, they'd made $1 billion more this time. I was like, that alone is just gonna keep that churning.
I just want new ideas.
Yeah, I want new ideas.
You know what's interesting? Why does no one ever mention the Cinderella movie? I mean, I haven't even seen it, but no one says it's terrible. No one says it's good. They're just like, no one's like, it's great. It doesn't seem to have
I think
done
that's why no one's mentioning
well,
it. Because it's just a bit meh.
Is it just like it's just
I'm
very
guessing
average?
so. I've not seen it.
There's like a few things they do. Like, what's the Huntsman film with?
Oh, Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah, that was interesting because it wasn't a reboot as such. I don't think it was just like a little bit of a spin-off.
Well, The Lion King is a remake of Hamlet, so they took a well-known story and put lions in it and animals. Why don't they do that again? Do Romeo and Juliet with
But have you also
crabs.
seen that? Why crabs?
I'm just thinking Sebastian from
I
The
don't
Little
know.
Mermaid
Yeah.
under the sea.
Yeah. And then he dies.
Oh no, see, I drink poison.
Long live Sebastian, the Sebastian.
the Sebastian.
But have you seen that Lion King everyone believes it pretty much ripped off I think it is a Japanese animation called Kimber the Lion.
No.
There's a very good side by side, and it is just, it's proper ripped off. There's a bad lion which has a scarred eye. It's much more friendly drawing. And much more happy-go-lucky. But the main difference is Kimber is a white lion rather than Simba just being a normal lion. But the original concept art for The Lion King had Simba as a white lion. So there's loads of things where people are like, no, they just ripped it straight off. And
Disney don't do that.
No,
Disney don't rip things off. No, I just don't need them.
Yeah.
I found it interesting, the Jungle Book one with the fire, because I didn't understand that as a kid. So it was interesting to see that part, but in general, just don't need it.
I haven't seen the remake. So
what do they call the fire in the Jungle Book again? What's it called?
Don't they call it the flower or
Man's
red flower?
Yeah,
or something?
and they mention it in the cartoon, but you don't really pick up on it that much. And obviously, you being kids, you're like, oh, don't really care about that. And sort of watching it as an adult, they sort of elaborate on why they call it or the reason they say it's called the flower or whatever.
So that's what King Louis after in the first one, the original.
See, I didn't even know that, and I've seen it as an adult.
What is it? Andy Serkis's his version of the Jungle Book, because it's based on an actual
Mowgli.
book. Yeah, that's coming out soon, and that's meant to be darker, like the original source material. Like that's something that anyone else could have made before now. And
that's how they should have rebooted it, the Grimm Brothers versions of all the Disney films. That would have been amazing.
Well, we've got Tim Burton's Dumbo. That could have a grim fairy tale.
Is Johnny Depp going to be in it?
No, he isn't. But Colin Farrell is going to be in it.
No, really? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have to watch
it. And Eva Green, she's always good. So we've got Dumbo, then we've got Aladdin and Lion King all coming out within 12 months. Yeah, it's a bit much. And do you know what? I watched the Lion King trailer. I don't really like the Lion King, the cartoon, the animated version. No.
I love it.
I loved it as a kid and then watched it again as an adult and was like, meh. And then I watched that trailer for the live action air quotes one and actually was like, oh, this looks good. I'm quite excited
cool
about it.
They've got the same guy doing Mufasa. I'm really bad with names.
Yeah, James Earl Jones.
How can you not like the original Lion King? You love musicals more than
me. What about
me.
the songs?
No, I don't think the songs are that great.
I just can't wait to be king. Hakuna Matata. Have you ever sung
Yeah,
it?
Hakuna Matata. Yeah, Be Prepared's not great.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think the Hobo is going to fall off his chair.
I liked Aladdin more. I mean, I'm still talking, this is still like an 8 out of 10 film, Lion King. But I mean, in the history of Disney, it's not one of my... I'd rather watch Aladdin or...
Oh, Aladdin's badass.
Probably would rather watch Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid more than Lion King.
He's judging.
And Mulan.
I'm going to move swiftly on.
Right, okay.
Then. But
Disney remakes.
That's a spot on one. Yeah.
My half one, quickly, was I read about it. I don't know if it's true, but they're going to try and do Drop Dead Fred again. And rumours are supposed to be Russell Brand in it.
Oh, fuck off.
So
I like Russell Brand, but as a comedian,
that's
not as
just
an
a
actor.
rumour. So yeah, moving on swiftly.
Cham, do you want to go next?
It's up to you.
I think you should.
I had like a big list. There's quite a lot in there, but actually the one that I want them to just give up on now is The Predator. I'm done with Predator films now. I feel like the original Predator was lightning in a bottle. It was just that time and a moment and those actors, and from everything I've heard about what happened off screen, it was about them coming together and making this moment. All these muscly men all together.
Yeah, they were being really macho with each other.
And they had like workout competitions in the morning, and Carl Weathers would tell them that he didn't work out, he just looked this good, but then snuck off to another gym and worked out in the morning in secret.
And I think there's something with Arnie like paid one of the costume people to tell one of the other guys Jesse Ventura
about his chest size or his bicep size.
They lied about the bicep size or something.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that much.
So everyone thought he had the biggest biceps. But those guys together, they strip back. They just go into a jungle to do a mission, and then this beast comes after them and they have to fight it. The whole ending with Arnie is great, where it's pretty much a silent film for half an hour. But then Predator 2 took the Predator to the city. It's kind of that old school go on holiday for the sequel kind of thing. But didn't really add much to it. There was not that much about it being in a city that added more than the jungle had. It's actually a worse environment for that kind of film, I would say.
Oh, wait, Predator 2 is the one that you didn't do the podcast on.
And I like it. I actually quite like it, but it's not great. Alien vs. Predator 1 and 2, both awful, dreadful films. Predators, interesting idea about the humans being predators.
I didn't think that was bad,
executed.
But probably mediocre at best.
And then The Predator from this year.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
so no
it's available to
spoilers.
download now, but without spoilers, dreadful rendering of special effects, terrible editing, worse than what we were talking about last week with Fantastic Beasts, just like plot lines just falling off, cuts halfway through a scene, bad wigs at bits where you could tell it was reshoots, bad sexual politics. The female character gets naked for no reason whatsoever. Mistreating of an autistic character. Yeah, it's just bad, and I'm just like, just leave it alone. The first one was fine. We don't need another. Hobo.
Oh wow! I feel like you should have gone last because that's a strong one. Like it's two strong ones, and mine's going to be just a bit weak in the middle. So, I was thinking it was going to be the Transformers universe, but the new Bumblebee film
does look good.
Looks amazing. It looks like
I
Iron
haven't
Giant.
seen the trailer yet.
It does.
Yeah. Watch it. It'll
Iron
make you
Giant's
think of
so great.
Yeah, they've taken what was Iron Giant and done Bumblebee.
He's never seen the Iron Giant.
I know.
What?
I know. I was going to watch it on the plane. I really want to watch it.
Don't watch it on a plane.
Yeah, I want it to be the right time. I've heard good things.
With a box of tissues.
Right.
Yeah.
Not
Is it sexual?
And some chocolates.
Right, okay then.
Because it's very sexual.
Yeah. Did they go up my bum?
Whatever you feel like doing. Whatever comforts you at the end of the film.
Right. Okay.
Whatever Layla wants to do to you.
Yeah. I'll get something with a hard shell, like a minstrel.
Oh.
I like the idea of Layla's the one comforting you after watching it.
I don't get it.
But put another one in.
But yeah, with the new Bumblebee film, I'm actually interested in the first time since the first movie came out ever, like really interested.
It does look good.
So in that case, I'm going to have to go for a Step Up universe.
The Step Up universe? What, is it because you really liked the first one?
Because none of them were good, and there's like 5 or 6 of them, and they should have stopped at none, yet alone one.
Isn't Channing Tatum in these?
He's in at least the first one.
Yeah, and then he comes... I've not seen the second, but I know he appears
the one with Channing Tatum.
Yeah, I quite liked it.
I mean, I'm saying this on purpose because I'll know if a certain person has listened to our podcast as well.
All right, okay then. The captain.
Yeah, the captain, who is a massive Step Up fan. Literally, whenever we'd speak to him, there'd be at least one reference to Step Up in it.
They are good films. I like the dancing in them.
No.
What is it? The third one with the guy with the curly hair?
I've only seen one.
Oh, I really like
And
that
I'd also like to include in this same universe, because it is the same nonsense dancing universe,
Stomp is the stage show.
No, it's something... Oh, I've forgotten it. It just literally dropped out of my head. But
all dancing films.
Yeah, all those sort of weirdly like... It's kind of like Fast and Furious, but dancing instead of cars.
Dancing and Furious.
So it's not...
Angry dancing.
It's no more about the people than Fast and Furious is. It's all about the dancing, which doesn't make for a good film. It's not...
I'm trying to think what film you're on
like,
about.
Save the Last Dance is a good dancing film. It takes like a Shakespeare play and works
Lord
in it.
of the Dance?
No.
That's Michael Flatley.
Yeah, I love that. I really like it. I just wanted to bring it up because I like it so much.
Stomp the Yard?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, there is a film
am I
called
thinking
that.
of? Yeah.
I don't know
think
what
that's
you're
had a
thinking
couple
of.
of sequels as well.
Oh, that's it.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, yeah.
So just all dance films for you.
No,
Because you're not a happy, jolly person.
I don't mind dance films, even if I don't like them. I don't. But these ones just seem they're not promoting anything positive. It's all
They are. What?
Dance your cares away. Isn't that the start of what's Fraggle Rock?
Well, no, in Step Up, like people, like they have that whole thing where it's like kids in the streets, and then they use dance to be happier and to not commit crimes.
Because one of the kids dies, doesn't he, in the first one? What was he called? Like Shorty or something? Like, this one's for you, Shorty. And he didn't get to dance his future away. He danced his way to
the grave. That's a good name for a film. Dance Your Way to the Grave.
Yeah. 5. I've got to give some other shout outs for ones that I feel like need to stop. Jurassic Park, for me, that needs to stop.
No, Chris Pratt is my king.
No, it's never been better than the first one. Indiana Jones needs to stop.
I agree with that one.
No, I'm willing to give that because the first 3 were good. It's only number 4 that was a bit iffy. I wouldn't mind giving that one more go before saying stop.
No.
I'm quite ready for Alien to finish.
Yeah.
But the last one, which really nearly got my top spot, was Pirates of the Caribbean. It needs to stop. I love the first one. I think the first one is a really good blockbuster. 1, 2, 3, and 5. That's pretty much all of them.
No, I don't.
You don't like 4? Is there a 6?
I don't like 4. There's no.
They're rebooting it, aren't they?
Are they actually rebooting it?
Yeah.
I think they're getting rid of John Depp and stuff.
JD.
Right. Okay then. So what was our top 3s? So Laura, what was yours?
Just Disney. Stop Disney.
Good job they don't have their own streaming service coming out soon. Hobo?
Mine was Step Up Universe.
And mine was the Predator series. So we'll be back shortly to talk about the Robin, the Hood, the Prince of the Thieves. Bye!
Wait, what's the song? What's the opening song?
Back to the pod.
Hello and welcome back to this Prince of Thieves episode of the Spoilt Milk movie podcast where we're talking all about Robin Hood. So, do you know what? I'll throw it out to either of you. Who wants to explain what this film's about?
I did Fantastic Beasts. So over to you, Hobo.
This film is about folk hero, British, English folk hero, Robin of the Hood. Which is played by American, not even trying to do a British accent, Kevin Costner. And he's just general battle with the Sheriff of Nottingham, and he's got his merry men by his side. That's about it, really. So, Kevin Costner goes to fight in the Crusades, to gain back the, air quotes, Holy Lands from
it starts in Jerusalem, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen this film in a long time, but I was like, I don't remember this.
I didn't remember this.
800 years ago from the 90s. It starts in Jerusalem. The Crusades notoriously fought in Jerusalem for the Holy Land where, Jesus and all that lark was. The failed Crusades, essentially, where they got beaten back by the Turks. He ends up... I think the timeline is he went there about 5 years ago, and it seems like after a year of fighting in the Crusades, he got captured because he was in jail for about 4 years.
Did it say that?
Yeah, that's the kind of... that was the kind of... I was putting together the timeline of what they said. Yeah.
For 4 years in jail?
Oh, well, he was long, bearded. I was very impressed. As a homeless person, that will keep you warm.
Did he shave on the boat? On the way over?
He was very clean shaven. He didn't have any cuts or anything. But yeah, he was jailed and then he comes back and he's a nobleman. He's Robin of Locksley.
Yeah. Son of Brian Blessed.
Son of Brian Blessed of Locksley. But it turns out his papa he did.
Do you know what, though? It was nice to see Brian Blessed in a role where he was quite normal.
Yeah, he wasn't over the top.
Yeah, he wasn't
His
giving
booming
it
voice.
Yeah. Like I feel like Flash Gordon and then UK TV adverts are all I've seen him in that I can remember.
Same.
Yeah. Which is sad because he's local. He's from, I think he's from Rotherham or something. So you want him to do well. I must admit, bit of a confession, my knowledge of Robin Hood and the history of Robin Hood is pretty much built up from this film and
really?
the Disney cartoon. And I did
The one with the fox.
yeah, I don't
that's a great
really
one.
to say that he's Nottingham, which is only a few 40 miles down the road. I don't know much about this guy.
Well, who was on the throne on that? Was it Richard the Lionheart?
Richard
Yeah.
Lionheart, yeah.
He was
Sean
what-
Connery.
He was like a Jacobite sympathiser, wasn't he, or something?
Oh yeah, Laura is a history buff. So
Oh, you can fill in the gaps. So was Robin Hood American?
No.
No.
he wasn't necessarily even real.
Or a fox?
I thought he was real. I genuinely thought he was real.
Well, I don't know, because there are... It's still a question mark, isn't it?
Yeah.
That there's stories about him. Okay, maybe I know a little
So
bit more.
it's either folk stories just of a made up person, or I mean, a lot of people think it's Robin Hood was a general term given to petty thieves, like people who went around, but then it evolved into this, story time.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those things, like when you watch every single sort of historical or fantasy film, like even Game of Thrones, to like any sort of film, they're like, they'll sing songs about us.
Yeah.
That's all you ever hear.
Yeah.
They'll make great songs about us.
Well, because before TV, internet, or radio, like all you had was people talking at you.
Yeah, but then songs aren't necessarily true, because if you're trying to think of a rhyming word for something, you'll either exaggerate or elaborate the actual thing they did.
Robin of Hood, he put up a pud and then went in,
What?
fell in some mud. I don't know. That's how
There's a lot of mud in this film.
Yeah. I thought this film was very textured. It felt very real. I love the look of it. I think everything about, maybe it's just the fact of shooting without special effects back in 91.
But it wasn't even like, let's wait until the what's it called? Happy
golden
hour.
hour.
Golden hour.
Happy hour.
Let's have some shots.
That's on
We're
point.
going to the
Cocktail.
bar afterwards.
But they didn't wait for like magic hour or whatever it is, golden hour, to like get those nice. Morgan Freeman moaned a bit about it being cold and miserable, and it kind of was.
When he first gets to England, he's trying to find which direction to pray because he's Muslim, and he's like, "Is there no sun in this country?" I was like, "That's spot on."
Still true to this day.
And so Robin's partner Peter dies back in Jerusalem when they escape from prison, but he saves Morgan Freeman, Azeem, who is a Muslim, and because he saves him, Azeem pledges his life to
Yeah, it's
repay
kind of
the
like
debt.
bound to him
When he
isn't
feels like it.
Yeah. Which is something that I really kind of liked.
He just
this
wanted
sort
to
of-
stick around.
They kept putting up these moments where he's like, "Oh, Azeem's going to come in a minute," and there's always like a fun little reason he couldn't. Like the first time he was praying, I think the second time he just didn't think he needed to help because it was.
Yeah, he was like, "You've got this."
Yeah.
Is that when he has the fight with Little John?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And he's
got
just
you,
like,
bro.
"Be faster," or something.
Oh, the bit where he's fighting with Marion when she's dressed as like an assassin.
Oh, yeah.
And he breaks down the door just in time to see that it's a woman that he's managed to get hold of. It's like, oh, why are we...
Hard on.
No, he's tried... he's managed to get the upper hand on. Sorry.
Oh, right, okay.
He's managed to turn it around just as he breaks down. And he sees when he was crying for help, it's now he's just got a woman in his hand. And you see like the look of Morgan Freeman's face, like...
I have a question about that. But like this one, because I left my notes at work. What's her name in this? I forgot.
Marion.
Yeah, so when you first see her, she's this person in a knight's armor, and she's really badass. And then throughout the film, she just turns into this blubbering, fretty, like woman that's just fretting all the time and going, Robin!
Yeah, she just becomes a bit of a screamer.
Just disappointed me.
It feels like there's a different version of this film where she was more heroic, because that introduction for Maid Marian is probably the best Maid Marian's ever had. She comes in like...
I don't know, did you ever used to watch the BBC show? Marion and her Merry Men?
No.
Oh, it was great, and it had Tony Robinson in.
Oh, yes!
Yeah.
Oh, my God!
I have not seen it.
She was the brains of the outfit, and they were all basically numbskulls. But it was
Dim-witted.
very much... well, it had Danny John Jules in, Tony Robinson.
You know Tony Robinson Baldrick?
Yeah.
So it was very kind of
Him playing an
British
idiot is always
comedy.
good.
He was the sheriff of Nottingham, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That programme was so good.
It feels like, as well, in that TV show, they stole a little bit from this film. You know, the bit where, like, one of the knights he's got, like, a bent helmet there.
Oh, yeah.
That was always in that TV series.
Yeah.
They always had, because it made them look goofy. The bit that covered the nose. One of the knights in this had that.
It was just slightly crooked.
Yeah, but
didn't realise.
in the like comedy, they always have it because they were all bumbling idiots, and it was a nice touch. I thought.
But yeah, Marion, I thought she was a good character all the way through.
I liked
but
her.
I know what you mean. She did start, I think, because she started as such a badass.
She deteriorated a little bit, I think, in that sense, because you want a strong woman in this, like a strong character, and she just sort of represented women really badly, I think.
But do you know what, though, actually, thinking about, like, most of the characters were quite flawed. Like, Robin wasn't played by Arnie, wasn't this, like, big, muscly person who was just going to beat everyone up. He got beaten up quite a lot of the time. When he had his fight with Little John, he, like, had a bleeding nose and got smashed in the face a few times. The Sheriff of Nottingham definitely wasn't like a big, all-encompassing bad guy. He was quite weak as well. Everyone kind of had their flaws about them.
I like it though when like the heroic guy or woman in the film doesn't actually win first time and they fail. I like that.
This isn't a pretty film where even if things are going wrong, the good guy or anything, they look perfect or anything like that. There's like people when they've been beaten, they were like drooling out the mouth because there
was loads of drooling.
Yeah, loads of
Everyone
drooling.
was dribbling.
I loved
loads
it.
of it, even just like little cuts on lips, like tiny little things that you wouldn't normally put in unless it was like a big thing. It didn't need to be bleeding down my face. It was just like a tiny little and things like their hair when they was fighting. It wasn't perfectly neat. It felt really real and textured and. Yeah, what you said. So the main antagonist is the Sheriff of Nottingham, played by Alan Rickman.
Oh, God, he's so good in
He
this
carried this film.
Yeah.
I think if he wasn't in it, it just would have been a shambles.
He's like above excellent in this film. It's almost as if they've been like, right, here's everyone's script, and he was like, where is mine? And they were like, you don't get one, Alan. Why not? And they're just like, just do whatever you want. Just make sure it seems like it fits. And he was like, okay, then.
Did you not know that? He turned the role down like twice, and he only accepted it when they said, yeah, you can pretty much have free reign of it. And apparently he got two of his friends in to help him spruce up his lines because he thought there was all shit lines. And one of them was Ruby Wax.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
That makes sense.
So she made the line, where he's walking by and he sees there's two women and he goes, you, 10:30, you, 10:45, bring a friend. Yeah, that was like one of her lines that specifically called out. Yeah.
I love it when he just kept calling everyone you twit. Because it just brought back memories because my mum loves this film. So shout out to my mum.
My mum loves this film.
And I just remember watching it as a kid or just seeing it in the background because my mum was watching it and just hearing the word twit as a kid and then giggling going, ha, twit. And then like learning that I can call my older brother a twit and it's not actually a swear word.
And the other good one he uses is whelp. Like the first Robin of Locksley's back is like, oh, him, he's a whelp. And I was like, that's a good one.
But the weird part about this film, I had to Googled the VHS cover for it, and it's got a very iconic image of Costner with his bow and the flames behind him that in 91 was just everywhere. And on every VHS cover it said PG. And the bit later, and again going quite towards the end, where Christian Slater's like, "Fuck me, he made it." I was like, "Pardon?" Like, rewound it and like watched it 3 times because I was like, "Did he just say fuck me?" Was that in the version you watched? Just to
Yeah.
and I was like, "What the hell?"
That was a line that Christian Slater just made up on the spot. It wasn't in any script. He just said it. And the editor just went, "No, I like that, I'll put it in," sort of thing.
I like him, like, the idea of him taking credit.
Yeah.
And being like, "I added that line." Which one? The one where I just said, "Fuck me."
Yeah.
Like, not some witty Ruby Wax written, like, joke. No, I shouted, "Fuck me."
And the other thing is, it's just dropped out of my head. What was it we were saying? I think I've had too much to drink.
We're talking about Alan Rickman carrying this and like quirky things he added in.
No, it's gone. It's
Oh,
gone.
okay.
My brain's
Never
gone.
mind.
Wait, let me just huff some more paint and then...
So the actual plot of the story then, Robin comes back and his dad's been killed. He finds out that Sheriff of Nottingham's been a bit of a prick while he's away. Kind of get hints that he's going to overthrow Richard the Lionheart and he's raising taxes. And reluctantly, at first, he decides he's going to fight back. What was the catalyst that made him...
I think it was his father's death, and because we've also got like his father's servant who says
gets
like
blinded.
Yeah,
His
he gets
eyes are so
blinded.
shut. It looked like
They look really good, though, didn't they?
And he says that the Sheriff of Nottingham said that his dad confessed to being like a Satanist.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, "No, never in him." And they set up very early on through Brian Blessed his sort of internal monologue of a note that he's writing that Robin Hood and his dad had a bit of bad blood. They didn't agree with each other. So when they left and last saw each other, left on bad terms.
Yeah, Robin mentions that, doesn't he?
Yeah, and now that he's come back, he not only cannot make up with his dad after being in prison for like 4 years, but also his dad is accused of being like a Satanist and he's lost all his lands. And yeah, everyone that he sees, everyone he comes into in those first sort of 15, 20 minutes is being persecuted by this one person, even like little John Little.
And that little boy that he sees at the mistletoe tree.
Yeah.
Well, shall we call it time for part 1 there?
Yeah.
We'll come back because there's quite a lot of twists and turns in the second half of the film. So we'll come back and we'll discuss that more in part 2.
Yep.
Bye.
Marion. Yes, Robin. I would do everything for you. Oh, Robin. But yes, I won't speak in a British accent. I will run with you, not be from London for you. Kill the Sheriff of Nottingham for you, but I won't be from Rotherham for you. There's nowhere, not Western Superman, not to Glasgow, or to Thurnscoe.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the Spoilt Milk movie podcast, where today we're talking about Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So I think we should pick up in the second part talking about the fight with Little John. What did you think of the fight, Laura?
I'm just thinking of the rapper Little John.
Wait, have I said that right? It is Little John in it. That's in the film.
Yeah.
Right, okay, yeah.
Sorry.
He's called John Little, but then he calls him Little John, and then
Yeah.
everyone calls him Little John from there.
Yeah.
Why? What? I think I missed something.
Lil
What?
John.
Little John, the rapper.
Oh, okay.
He's in that Usher video. Yeah. Anyway, what was the question?
What did you think of the battle? The
I
little,
liked
The
it.
rap battle
It
with
took
Little
place
John.
Over the
in-
river.
Yeah.
I really liked that. I just
haven't
like the
seen
scene because I said to you, Hobo, where is that? Because I want to see. I love filming locations, and I would love to see where that or know where that is. So if anyone knows, let me know.
I liked the little bits where, even when it started, he just hit his hand. I was like, you don't see that. They normally go for like the brutal shot.
He kept doing that though, like he'd hurt himself. And you know, like when you bash your knee and you sort of hold your breath and you sort of go... He kept just doing that. Like, he just seemed like a clumsy person, Robin Hood.
Do you know what? I feel like that's a good shout. I feel like you don't ever see anyone bumping the toe or bashing the fingers in films. But that's the stuff that really, like, not like hurts more, but really pisses me off. Like, I might, like, come off I fractured my elbow a few months ago, came off a bike, bang, laughed it off or whatever.
Why did you come off your bike, Cham?
Because I was drunk. Giving my wife a cog. But like things like if I stub my toe, I hate it. It like makes me angry. So him like bashing his hand, that's the kind of thing that in like a fight would piss me off more. But do you know what I loved about this fight? If this film was done now, because there is a Robin Hood remake, I don't think they'll do this scene, but those waterfalls would be 30 feet high, and that water would be crystal blue, and it wasn't. It was murky and dirty, and the waterfalls were like 3 foot. It's just a little drop that you could roll off. Yeah. But it felt real. It felt like that's what Nottingham at the time would have been like.
That's what I feel like. And I looked this up. I was looking at like, who is the director? Who is the DOP? And like, the director's only done, I think it was Waterworld.
Yeah.
And the DOP, he
did Count of Monte Cristo as well, was it? Or something?
Yeah.
Another swashbuckler.
Yeah. And I think he briefly worked on Full Metal Jacket, but like how they managed to get this just to feel really just gritty, but not the Hollywood gritty, let's just make Batman dark. It was just, I don't know, a bit more
It didn't look
earnest.
like a film set. It just looked like it was all done nicely and properly.
You noticed a lot of the castles and stuff, they were
real.
And they were like worn down castles. They were, some of them were ruins that we were dressing up to look like, and I thought that was really nice. And also the horses kept breaking down the walls.
Yeah, they had a lot of horses jumping through wall shots because I kept thinking...
It makes me sad. Like I didn't actually Google it. I wanted to for this. But seeing horses get knocked down, like, is there a certain way that it's trained, or was it because it was the 90s? They didn't have that much animal protection.
Because they still do that a lot in things like Game of Thrones. And it always seems like when they do someone pulling someone off a horse and it falling over, the horse always falls in a particular sideways way.
Like Peter Griffin in Family Guy.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's a way that they can teach horses to fall where it doesn't hurt them, because it always seems to be they go down on the side and then get straight back up. So I'm hoping they didn't.
That's why I don't want to see that A Dog's Purpose film, because you see that clip that came out where it was behind the scenes and they were forcing this dog to try and do this stunt, and you could tell the dog didn't want to do it.
It didn't want to go in the water, I think it was, and it was crying. And
don't watch for A Dog's Purpose.
Well, I don't want to watch it anyway. Stupid fucking film.
You won't look at me for that.
Animals. So there's quite a bit of action in this film, but there's also quite a lot of plotting and interesting characters in. We've not really spoken about the witch character.
The Sheriff of Nottingham's...
Is she supposed to be his mum?
Well, she is, and that's like quite a big revelation in the film. I had no idea. I was sat there watching it. Was it yesterday? And when she said that she stole the real, what would be the real Sheriff of Nottingham, I'm guessing, and replaced it, kind of similar to a story from Fantastic Beasts for our last podcast. A baby swapping theme. But yeah, she was his mum. And
I feel there's more in that was cut out. I bet they filmed a lot more and they just didn't use it because it feels like a bigger plot point, and there's definitely a turn between how Alan Rickman's character treats her, where because he always kind of puts up with her. He knows she's a bit crazy, but a means to an end, and he's encouraging her. But then there's a twist during the film where he's more disgusted by her, and I feel like they originally planned that she revealed that he was his mum towards like the end, but
it's because she had a peeping hole and he didn't like it.
And it was weird. She was trying to like egg him on to consummate the marriage, and you're like, calm down.
Well, what was I listening to the other day? They were talking about like back in like medieval times or whatever, when you consummated a marriage, the whole family would watch.
Yeah,
so they would all go into a room and watch you carry out the act. And I was like, oh, why are you pointing at Laura?
Because that's
Has this happened to you?
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm
maybe that's what I heard it.
I'm watching Game of Thrones at the moment, so I'm only on season 5.
Ooh, you've
So
got some good stuff.
no
on.
spoilers, but yeah,
Right,
they carry him to the bed.
They
don't
have the bedding ritual. So as the marriage is finished, people carry... So the men carry the bride and undress her to the bedroom, and the women carry
Is
the
that
groom.
Rob Stark? Or...
Yeah.
Right.
And it also happens with his pop or whatever, yeah.
Laura's looking a bit itchy, antsy, like, we won't give
yeah.
away any...
But yeah,
spoilers.
that's based... George R. R. Martin based it off a lot of like true things that happen. So yeah, I suppose that's normal. But I mean, the best thing about that scene is Alan Rickman hamming it up. Just, I can't do it when you watch it. I can't. Most of my notes are just Alan Rickman's lines.
Yeah,
It is
they were
isn't he?
great. What was the one we really giggled at
I liked the
watching?
bit when he was like, I'll take your heart out with a spoon.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
it.
Guy of Gisborne was like, why a spoon or whatever, and he was
You
like,
do it.
blunt.
I did write that one down.
But it was basically like, because it's blunt. And then when he
Oh,
killed him,
Who was it? His cousin?
yeah.
The guy who played his cousin, the actor who did the voice, it was ridiculous. He just talked like this the whole
He
time.
was gravel. He was gargling gravel.
I quite liked Guy of Gisborne.
That's hurt my throat.
Because it's dull, you twit. It'll hurt more.
You gotta do it in your voice.
Yeah, go on. Give us some Rickman. I've got another line reading if you want to do it in Rickman.
What is it?
Let's see. So I'm just picking one.
He's got a whole
I
list.
don't feel like I can do it just.
Can't do it under pressure.
Oh.
Yeah.
The Call Off Christmas one.
No, because he's shouting in that one.
Oh,
So it's not
okay.
as much. I can't do it anyway.
Oh, I don't know if I have any ones that way, because most of the ones is like calling out, like,
Yeah.
tell them I'm going and Call Off Christmas.
I love that he says call off Christmas. He's just so good in this film. I remember, again, this coming out and being a massive deal and enjoying it when it came out, and then maybe watching it a few years after and thinking, oh, it's not very good. This actually is a bit boring. This is like the first time I've seen it in a long time, probably 20 years, and seeing a lot more of it than what I originally thought. There was a lot more going on with little twists and turns. I completely forgot about Christian Slater, Will Scarlett being his brother. Yeah.
I
When
forgot
that came out, I
about
was like,
that.
whoa.
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. It's a big reveal.
Yeah.
But yeah, completely forgot about it. When he was telling his story about his dad having like another kind of, not a wife, but another partner after his mum's death, I wasn't thinking, right, we've got the reveal coming up here. I was just happily watching away.
He mentions that he was just horrid, wasn't he? So that his dad left her or something, and we don't realise there was a baby involved.
And Marion sets that up as well earlier, where she's like, all I knew of Robin of Locksley was he was like a spoilt child who bullied me. And so when Christian Slater is saying like, you were a horrid person, you believed it, because it's like everything you know about him before the war, the Holy Land sort of thing, is like, he wasn't a good person. He's just come back. He's just been...
War changes people.
changes you. But as good as Alan Rickman was, I feel it's like the biggest letdown for this film is Kevin Costner.
No, I disagree. I really liked Kevin Costner in this. I know his accent wasn't...
It's not his accent, it's how flat his delivery... I mean, how monotone his delivery was for everything.
I liked him.
was
I
like-
really bought into him as just this kind of all-rounder good guy.
He's just shaking his head at us.
Well, even the bit where his brother's like, I have a brother. I have a brother. Like, he's so... It's almost like he's got Botox, because he doesn't react.
There was some parts, I guess, were flat. You know when they first arrive in England and he's walking along the wall and he's just like over the top. I guess he's happy to be back in England. But he's like, what was her name? what was her name? And I was just like, oh, go away.
That was good banter. I like the banter
No,
between him and Azeem. Like, that was a good friendship, but I think that was all the better for Morgan Freeman rather than
Morgan
Kevin
Freeman
Costner.
was great in this as well.
Yeah.
I really liked him in this.
Yeah, he was.
His accent at times was a bit odd.
Yes.
What was his accent?
Yeah, it wasn't consistent, but as his character and how he delivered it, minus the accent, was good.
For 91, this was a surprisingly positive message about
Yeah, it
how
was.
the
How to treat
Crusades
people of
were.
other colours and,
Yeah.
and religions. Yeah. I mean,
love
they
it
did
when
call him the
kid says
painted
that.
man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no,
But
but that
that
was
was-
cute when the
yeah.
little kid did it, and he was like really like he wasn't having a go at her because she said that. He was like, "Oh no, my child." He was being really nice about it because you know they probably hadn't seen that before.
That's the thing. I think they said it appropriately for 800 years ago, where they did refer to him as that, but he was like the most positive character in that. He was honourable. Even like
delivered
Robin
that
was
baby.
saying that his countrymen was like they were worth 10 of every one of his men and stuff like that. What was that about baby?
He delivered the baby.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Friar Tuck kind of looked down on him for being not a Christian. And the moral of that kind of story was don't be so close-minded, be open-minded to other religions and beliefs, which was really
You're
nice.
seeing the priest and Azeem sort of go off, and he's like, "I don't drink." And well, I'll do the talking.
Yeah.
Or, "No, you do the talking, I'll do the drinking," or something.
All the bit with Merry Men were so British. They were so just like they got general British people to be background
Dave of
characters in
Doncaster.
general. Yeah, Dave of Doncaster's got a big dick.
It reminds me of the King Baratheon in season 1 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
What was it? Piss on that.
Which was the jam one. I love that.
He's cavorting with a load of like hookers and he goes, and all you hear in the background, it's like as people are walking off and talking, you hear is, "You smell like blackberry jam."
And we now say that to each other at least once a day.
I can't smell blackberry jam. So
No, it's honestly something I've never heard anyone say before. But...
I know because there's a bit in Ronin where Sean Bean gets shot and he's like, "Oh, I spilt my raspberry jam." And like me and my brother and my mate, whenever we see each other again, we're always like, "My raspberry jam." But the British people in the Merry Men, whatever, they looked British
Yeah.
as well. Like little John had like quite like big front teeth and they didn't look like Hollywood stars. And no offense to Taron Egerton, because actually I think Taron Egerton seems like a thoroughly lovely guy, but he looks fairly Hollywood. And him and Jamie Foxx, I don't think they're going to be a patch on Kevin Costner's mullet and Morgan Freeman.
And there's just bits where Maid Marian is leading to see Robin Hood is bathing. And, but like
Tan lines.
thingy of Doncaster's arguing about the handmaid and is like, "You trout." It's like, "I'm not a trout." And the bit where he like takes off his top is like, "Oh, his shirt's coming off. What else is happening?"
They made a joke twice about that, didn't they?
But I love that he did have that kind of nude scene. And he had like a white bottom. Like legs and bottom were completely white. And he wasn't like ripped. Like if that was now, he would be ripped.
Like Zac Efron ripped.
Yeah. And like even if he was Taron Egerton, I bet if there's a scene where he takes his shirt off, he'll have a 6-pack or whatever. And
it'll be oiled up as well.
But he had like a bit of a crappy mullet and like...
Oh, God, that mullet.
And just had a white arse. And I was like, yeah, of course he'd have a white arse.
That's probably one of the earliest scenes that I at least remember of the female gaze. Because most films are the male gaze. So you see a woman coming out of the water, like the Bond thing. And that's like pervasive in films. But the amount of times you have the female gaze where it's a woman... like perving on a guy sort of thing. It just doesn't happen that often. And because I remember when Casino Royale came out and they did that with David,
him coming out of the water.
him out of the water. That was purposeful. But this, I was like, oh, that's really, again, it feels like at one point there's a much more progressive, with all the stuff with the Muslim, like the pro-Muslim stuff, and the fact that the Maid Marian at first was a fighter, it really felt there's a much more progressive version of this film than what ended up in the
I
cut
do
of
think
the-
we've got to give it credit for what it does do, because again, this is going back nearly 30 years
Oh
old.
my gosh.
Yeah.
I think for what it was doing, we've got to give it credit for it.
The setup in the tree houses they built,
Oh yeah,
that was amazing. So when I was little, my granddad convinced us that Robin Hood existed. I've told you this story.
one was alive
Please don't.
now,
But
at the time.
Yeah,
You need to tell this story.
I grew up in North London, and there was like quite a rural area called Alexandra Palace, and it's a beautiful.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, they do like gigs there now, and you can see the whole of London over it. And there's like a woodland area, and this is before my granddad passed away, and there's quite a few of me and my cousins and my older brother, and he used to walk us with the dog. And we'd take a slow stroll from my nan's house all the way through to Alexandra Palace. And we went through the woods, and he turned around to us and he said, "Oh, Robin Hood lives over there." And like we'd always see it, and just one day he was like, "Go and look." So I just remember being like holding my cousin's hand, and then he put me on his shoulders, and we were walking through the woods, and like we're like ducking under these trees that are fallen and climbing over things, and we get to like this middle part, and there's like a massive open area, and there was like a hut made out of wood, and there was a fire burning. We were like, oh, it's Robin Hood, and it was a homeless guy, and he chased us through the woods, and we were like, Robin Hood's gonna kill us. And I just remember my cousin going, "Duck, Laura, duck," because he's running with me on his shoulders.
Oh, he didn't let you off?
No, he just like held on to me, because I just remember being really like young and really small, and my older cousin's just like grabbing me and running off with me. But then it turns out my granddad actually knew the guy, so my granddad, the guy came out and like shook my granddad's hand and everything. But we were like, "Oh my god, Robin Hood's gonna kill us."
Basically, it's Robin Hood, the homeless guy. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
I'm glad it had a happy ending.
He was only going to steal from the rich and give to the poor. You
I
being
am
the rich
poor.
and him being the poor. Yeah, but you were richer than him.
Yeah. Yeah, the trees and everything, the setup in the film was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I just remember being a kid
Yeah, it
and going,
was.
"I want to live there. I want to run away."
It looked like they'd created it all as well. I watched a documentary on this. It was on YouTube and weirdly hosted by Pierce Brosnan. And he was... So it must have been something on like ITV or something. And he looked really young and he was like, "Now we're going to tell you about the story of Robin Hood." And he was like introducing it. I was like, "You're better than this." But they interviewed loads of people from like Nottingham. Like, "Oh yeah, like he used to come and drink in this pub." And they were like all people with like 5 teeth in their head. But he said something in it and I thought, this will annoy the hobo.
Oh god!
It was the director, Kevin Reynolds, said about Sheriff of Nottingham, "I wanted the Sheriff of Nottingham to be something more than just a one-dimensional Darth Vader bad guy." And I was like, "Has he seen Star Wars?
Yeah, what the fuck?
What makes him think that Darth Vader is a one-dimensional bad guy?" But anyway, it was really interesting, and they had loads of like locals on talking about it. And if you've not seen it, I'd recommend watching it on YouTube.
I'll have to give it a look.
Should we go for opinions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go first. I went last time out. I loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. It went on for 2 hours, 35 minutes, which I was quite surprised by. I thought it was going to be quite quick. Just a little 90-minute film. But it flew by. I was like, I can't believe that's done. I thought Alan Rickman was incredible. I really liked Kevin Costner. I thought he was wholesome and everything I'd want from my lead. Loved Morgan Freeman. Really liked Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio. I wanted to say her name because it's a cool name. I thought the action scenes were gritty. It looked authentic. Yeah, really good. Much better than I thought it was going to be. Definitely luxurious cheese from me.
And 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
For people who can't see. 2 thumbs up went for that. So that's a high praise.
Who's next?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, for me it's cheese all the way as well. I really enjoyed it. Alan Rickman carried that film for me as well. They were all good, but Alan Rickman stood out for me. Yeah, I liked it.
Favourite Alan Rickman line that you want to recreate here?
The cancelling Christmas.
Go on, do your best Alan Rickman impression.
Cancelling Christmas. My neck went back like a turtle.
I'm a turtle, and I'm Alan Rickman. For me, there's a lot of things that we talked about all the praises of this film, and that's me forgiving a lot of the dialogue is horrendous.
Oh, it's all right.
No,
Stop being harsh.
Most of the time it is thumbed in with a blind.
What's wrong with thumbing in?
Cash.
Like, it's just because you know a bit about Friar Tuck not liking Azeem delivering the baby and then going, "I was wrong about you." That happens at the start of the film because they thumb in a bit where Peter is like, "Oh, don't set him free, he's a Moor," and then he, like, as he is Morgan Freeman's character is letting him out, there's a bit of like ADR where Peter's character goes, "I was wrong about you, I'm sorry," and it's
That's
terrible.
Just good script writing.
And it just, that flows throughout where there's loads of like off-screen ADR where it's like, "I was wrong about," or like just little bits of exposition. And all of Kevin Costner's lines are terrible, delivered terribly.
No!
Absolutely.
No.
But yeah, there's so much praise for this.
Yeah.
And we didn't even talk about one of probably the best few seconds of action you've ever seen in a film. Even now, 1991 standards still match up. The bit with him shooting that bow and arrow, the flaming bow, to the guy who's about to chop off Christian Slater's head. Just that scene with the explosion. It's kind of cheesy now with how other action movies have made that, but when that happened, seeing an explosion in the background where he's shooting this arrow, I think they shot it at 300 frames per second. Slow-mo, going in.
Well, all the bits where it was like following the arrow.
Yeah,
That was
like,
quite good for its
Yeah.
time, because don't they do
totally
that with
stands up.
Thor's hammer recently in like the Marvel
Yeah.
films, and that's really cool to see at the point of view from the arrow, or the Thor's hammer in this instance. We didn't see it much back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And this felt more real than that did
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, so in that case, I'm say it's the fine luxurious cheese.
Yay!
Even though there's so much of it I just didn't want to like.
But you got to give the excuse it was the 90s.
Yeah. Early 90s.
No, because
it was
in the
pretty
90s,
much 80s.
you had better. There were examples of better script
You can't
writing.
have it all. Be happy.
This is the same year as Ninja Turtles 2, Secret Abuse.
And that was amazing.
Oh, so there we go. It's a luxurious cheese. All three of us agree. So that's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, in there. Love it. Right, okay, well, thanks for your time, your patience, your opinions, your raspberry jam, blackberry jam stories.
See, I say raspberry jam as well.
I'm Alan Rickman and I'm a turtle.
Hello.
Until next time.
Bye. Bye.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Spoilt Milk Movie Podcast, you pieces of fucking shit.